Well, good evening. You're very welcome to Inside Line Racing for round number 5, I should say, not 6, of ILR6 here at a very wet Austria. My name is Graham, and I'll do my best to help bring the action tonight from. I'm told there's going to be a monsoon qualifying and a full wet race as well, so it should be absolutely fun and games. A lot of people, it was funny looking at the ILR6 Twitter chat before, just when I saw it was raining, and like the amount of them piping them saying they had no wet setup ready. So this is going to be a fun for a lot of people. So strategy goes out the window. There was some chatter about a 2 versus 1 stop in the dry. That is firmly all gone, absolutely in tatters with this utter. It is just absolutely wetter than a wet day here in Ireland. So anyways, it should be fun. Nas here, I think, is the first man on a lap, so he's going to get the break the waters, so to speak. So he comes out of the last 2 turns, and then to the last difficult one. Not to take too much of that curb, we can get into the nitty-gritty of the challenges this track offers, especially if you have moments like that. He's going to get us rolling with 1:16.6, so that's going to get us going, and the rest of the laps will come flying in as we do a bit of housekeeping, a bit of updating on the standings. I wonder how well that lap will stack up, actually, to be fair. 16.6 in full wet conditions. I've seen worse, but Sullivan inside, he'll go one better with 16.2. We'll see. And then again, time's coming thick and fast. It was Johnny 16.1. We've all survived though, it looks like, for the first. I don't know, we've been going for a few minutes. And that's more like a 15.4 from King MJ. That's going to get the ball rolling with that. So we'll stick with, I don't know, we'll go with XCI Dan. We're going to be talking about him in a sec. We'll go over the standings. So at the top it is a tie between Don Regime and King MJ, both on 68 points apiece, and 5 points back of that is XCI Dan in third, and on 63 points, and there's a big drop off then to MK Bourne on 34 points in fourth. So a big drop off then from the top 3 to the rest of the grid. So even it's the shortened season. There's only 11 rounds, but really that's a commanding lead for the top 3. It's going to be difficult for an outsider from the top 3 to kind of get themselves into the mix with that kind of deficit already after 4 rounds. The constructors Ferrari lead the way at 94 points ahead of Mercedes on 70, and then 3 points back of that is Renault, and then fourth place is Toro Rosso further back of that on 40 points. So that's the standing. So we're looking at King MJ has got himself off to a good start here. We're looking at XCI Dan, and then Don Rajiv, who had disconnected. I wonder if he's been able to get back in yet. MK Bourne goes quick as 15.1. So I'm told the conditions are going to worsen soon. So it could be a case of get these flying laps in soon, and because you may not have another chance to improve, and that could be curtains in terms of getting your quickest lap in. If the track won't allow it, then there's not much more you can do with that. So full wets. I'm not sure if it's full wets for the race. If it's intermediates, I'm told it's wet the entire race. So I don't know if that's full wet or intermediates. I would hope maybe we get a chance to see some changes in the conditions, where we see maybe wet to inters, or maybe inters to full wet. We'll see. But Sirlane coming across the line, popped himself into 6th place. He was actually one of the few people who was doing. He was mentioning he was in the trees in practice. So getting the trees in Austria is a very good time. Something even I struggle to do. So, but we're gonna have no dry running by the looks of it. So all that practice in the dry is gone out the window for a lot of these guys. Look how heavy I can barely see the cars on the track. This is probably streaming at 720p at 60 frames, but it's naturally a little bit difficult to see the spray. Look at that! It's just a monsoon out there. It really is. I'd be surprised, unless you've done a 29.6 for example, how much improvement you can find in the track. 'Cause I think it's only going to get wetter and wetter. But it's just utter storm. No, Petrick, who was not looking forward to this one, he's actually got himself up to 4th place with 15.4. So good lap from him. 3 laps on those wet tires. I find the key thing in the wet conditions is to fill the car up and just get out there. Just get out there, keep pounding laps in. Just get a feel for the track, because you're never going to really nail it first time in the wet. It is about kind of getting acclimatized to the track, just knowing where the grip is, and braking zones, etc., etc. I always find it's better to fuel up, do 3 or 4 laps, and look, you're at Austria, it's a short track anyway, and just take it from there. You get into you get into a groove, you get into the swing, and as your fuel comes down, your confidence is also growing as you're trying to find a balance on track. And as Bastos comes across the line, his second flying lap, just 19.4. I wonder if he'll go on for another lap, and if he is, if it's a flying lap, I wonder if he'll be able to improve, because well, at the moment everyone's kind of in, not a lot of people out. Some people are out on an in lap. If you're Morris, may as well set a time since you haven't set one, but I think he's on an out lap. As Dan looks like he's going to finish. Oh, he dummied. Thought he was going to come into the pits with XCI Dan then. He's improved to 18.3. And honestly, if he can't, he's going to find a slight improvement, 17.5, but you know, if that's where the track is at, then he's put himself in a very difficult spot by not nailing the qualifying lap out the box, because if there are no improvements to be had in the track, you know, it's going to be difficult to, he's already in 15th place, so it's going to be tough. But there's a couple of people now coming out. Pinsky coming out on an out lap. Serlane has fitted the intermediates in the pits. I'm not too sure. I would advise the intermediate tyre. You can barely see in front of you. If you look over the horizon, the barriers, there's not a lot to see. Let's see if we can pick up someone on a lap though, as Bastos is in. Alright, let's see Johnny out on a lap. He's at 6th place with a 15.9. Quite tight in some spots. Between 5th and 8th. Not a whole lot in it. As they tiptoe around. Tricky conditions. You have to really, you know, a wet setup. If you don't have one on hand, it's a bit of a headache. Ooh, that's Smudge, I think it was, getting onto the grass, who's in the way of Johnny rather, and that's scuppered this lap for Johnny and this next lap too. So just stuck in the wrong place at the wrong time. That'd be more frustrating than the fact that he's just pulled into the pits. Then it's always a bit more frustrating. The other Johnny R95, out on a fresh set of wets. No, Petrick has taken those a few laps. He'll be coming in. But a couple of people venturing out on see if they can try and find improvements. Be surprised. Here's Lord Elephant, and they had to set a lap as well as Don Rajiv, who did get back in. Then the two Mercedes, and the only two drivers not to set a time as of yet. But that should change soon enough. Stick with them. I think it's Lord Elephant will be starting first. Let's just see where this track is at then. We go on board. A couple of other people either in the pits or on their out laps, so we'll stick with this one with Lord Elephant as he turbos down towards, and it's a 17.3. He was on the lap, 17.3, and his teammate can't do a whole lot more. 17.5 for the championship leader, so he is well and truly out of position then. Sadly, through no real fault of his own, there's his disconnect. But that's a very tough one. This is looking like a very, very good day so far for King MJ, sitting in very happily in P2. He nailed the lap early, and his championship rivals are all the way down at P16 and 17. And tell you what, it's not as straightforward as making your way through the field in the dry, or in the wet rather, than it is in the dry. It's going to be a lot more of a challenge, especially if we're going to be having conditions like this. Ryan Berry then, 19.3, can't improve, as many drivers are finding it hard to prove. I think I'm sure Morris will find the improvement though. Hard not to with a 24.2. He becomes then, it's going to be in the 20s though. It's 21 flat, but he's still at the back. And then Patrick has taken those tyres 6 laps. He'll be, well, if it's full wet conditions to start, he'll be in trouble because he'll be starting the race on those tyres. And 6 laps on those tyres, you know, you're not putting yourself in a great position. So if it's light rain and it's an intermediate tyre to start with, you have to worry about, but it's a bit more tricky in the full wet conditions. You're going to keep going around, I think. He is just pounding those laps in. So I'm hoping for his sake that it's intermediate, so to start the race, otherwise he's going to be in a very tough spot with those tyres, taking those 7 laps. You're going to have to make a pit stop here at some point. You could even be forced yourself into a 2-stop if you're starting on those tyres. Pinsky is 2/10 down in his current time, so he's kind of finding a little bit of time around here and there. Yellow flag in sector 2. Still no retirement so far, I have to say, very impressive. And it has cleared up a bit now, so I think now we will see a few improvements now in the track, as you can actually see the trees in front of us for once. So not a bad corner there from Pinsky. See where you can find any time. I think he is going to find some time, isn't he? 16.4, just a tenth off, but the track is getting close to where it was. So this would be great news for Don Rajib and XCI Dan. They're still on the full wets, but if the track is improving like this, then it was from a monsoon, then that's only good news for them. They can kind of get their way a little bit further up the field and closer to their championship rival King MJ, who is sitting nicely in second and out on track once again, just over 5 minutes late. And Laura Elephant at 14.6, so there you go, proof at all that the track is now back where it should be. Don Rajiv, they're going to third as well, so the track now has switched back. He found 2 seconds on that next flying lap to Laura Elephant, and you can see obviously how quickly it's taken to for those problems to alleviate. No Petrick then, and again 8 laps on those wets, goes up to second, and we finally have our first retirement of the day. Sector 3. Yes, Red Bull holding up a Sauber of ILRT Smudge, and going for a bit of racing, makes contact with the back and is just not in a great position of the car. But the lap's going to be quick, and they'll be coming in thick and fast. The timings will be all over the place. Let's see what King MJ does. See, round turn 3, what is known as turn 3, even though it's technically the second braking point. It is turn 3. They redefined that in 2017. And the chase down towards turn 4. Nice line. Didn't quite take the curb, but still relatively tight nevertheless. And through then the end of the second sector. Very nice indeed. A little bit hesitant on the exit though. Reluctant to put down the full power too soon. I'm assuming he's on no traction, and that's how you take these last two then. These last 2 corners. Nice and tight. Oh, I thought he was going to bail into the pits, but he's half-heartedly, and he's scuppered his own lap then, and now his next lap too. As anyone improving, that looks like an out lap for MK Bourne. Get ready for his flying lap. See if we can find anyone on the lap. Close to the end of their lap. Here is Sir Lane in McLaren now. It's going to be close, isn't it? 15.4, so it's so tight from 4th all the way down. XCI Dan comes up into 9th place with a 15.5. He'll be hoping for a bit of an improvement, and he is up a 10th already on this current lap. So with 3 minutes left to go, you really want to be out on track right now. So the likes of Laura Elephant, Noel Petrick, they might get just the 1 lap in, but of course the track conditions are changing all the time, with it seemingly getting a little bit drier and drier. I wonder, will anyone gamble on a set of intermediates and come out before this is all said and done? Might be worth the risk, because by the time you're out, and by the time you cross the line, it could just be the tyre to be on. But of course all depends on the delta in the garage. They'll all have that information. King MJ though, still sitting pretty. He's now behind Dom Nogier, but see if he can take back provisional. Well, he wasn't on provisional pole very early on, he was, but now heading towards the line. Can he improve on his time? It is provisional pole, 14.3 for King MJ. He can carry on if he wants. Noel Petrick has come out on a set of intermediates. He's going to take this risk. That's an interesting one. A couple of people have pitched on the inters there as well. We'll see if they actually follow suit on a lap. MK Bourne, I think, is just starting his lap. He's on full wet. XCI Dan comes up to 5th place now. It's 5th because Smudge has gone over to cross the line to take 5th away from him with a 14.8. Dan into the 14.9. More people pitting out on the intermediates. Ryan Berry, then 2 Red Bulls out on inters. Pinsky on inters as well. This could be a real smash and grab, as we're just over a minute and a half left. Oh, big moment for MK Bourne. Oh no, never mind. It's a bit of lag. I did see he was on a red connection bar in the lobby as well, so hoping for his sake he can hang on to his connection as Lord Elephant coming around the final corner. I believe he is on, it's a 14.6 to 6. He was on that outlap, to be fair. I think that's what he was on before. Now then, let's see then. Noel Petrick, 14.7 is his best time. He's in 3rd. Is the intermediate the right tyre to be on? Let's go on board and see what the cornering is like through turn 3. Up the hill. Runs a little wide of the apex. It's not looking too shabby though, to be fair. Could that be an inspired move for pole position? Let's see if you could catch anyone on a lap. At the end of a lap, I think Speed Iceman is on it. On the end of his lap, he'll have time for one more. One's a bit wide though. I may have scuppered that lap. Will it count? 15.9, it's slower anyways. Pinsky starting his lap on intermediates. You can catch anyone because the checker flag's about to come out in 20 seconds. Short enough track here, but Smarsk still can't find a way up. Short enough track, but time is ticking. Or there's a bit of a cute as Gazaman. There's a Ferrari behind that. Bastos it is. Bastos goes up to 9th place then. Where's Lord Elephant? I think he was on the end of a lap. It's a 14.7. It's not enough. Here's Noel Patrick on the intermediates. It is pole position by a second. So it is time for the intermediates then. 13th lap for Noel Patrick. The only people that can supplant him now is Pinsky and the Force Interview Wattmate and Ryan Berry possibly as well. The intermediates is the tire to be on now. The gamble has paid off for Noel Patrick. He is on provisional pole. Don Rajiev's gone up to 4th place then in the Mercedes. Lord Elephant has one more lap to go. Oh, there's a car off there. We're going to stick with Pinsky because he's surely the last man now who can take away pole position now in the intermediates. MK Bourne back up to 3rd, 14.6. And the Toro Rosso doing a great job there. But here's the big one then. In the Williams. Can he take pole position? He's surely the last man now who can do it. Crosses the line. It's not going to be pole. It's 4th place to 14.5. And you Wattmate went ahead of that as well on Inter's 14.3. Lord Elephant is 8/10 down this lap. I think he'll have to really peel in. He's going to finish the lap. Smudge moves out the way, so it's just Lord Elephant then to finish then. I don't think he'll be an improvement. He's going to line up 6th ahead of his teammate, but it's the best qualifying he's had for a while in the ILR6. So there you go then. The intermediates were the ones to pay off in the end. And it's 1.3 seconds then. No, Patrick actually found another improvement. But there you go. 13 flat. It's good enough for pole position then. So the gamble paid off. It paid off for all of them really. I thought Pinsky may have been able to squeeze a bit more out of it, but he's starting on the 2nd row at least. And now it'll be interesting how the rain starts. Are we on full wets? Are we on intermediates? We shall soon find out. As we just check the I'll just check the YouTube comments, see what's going on. Always worth a gander, unless you're in ILR1 where they just mislead you very cruelly. We'll do it afterwards. So I'll take you through the 20 car grid then. Noel Patrick on pole position on the intermediates ahead of King MJ 2nd, Uwapmate in 3rd, Pinsky 4th, MK Bourne 5th, Lord Elephant 6th, Don Rajiv 7th, Nas in 8th, Suleiman 9th, ILRT Smudge 10th, Bastos 11th, XCI Dan's got some work to do in 12th, ILRT Johnny 13th, Sir Lane 14th, Speed Iceman 15th, Johnny R95 in 16th, Monkey Meg 17th, Gazaman back in the McLaren in 18th, Ryan Berry 19th, and Morris then in 20th place. Noel is very happy with that. You can imagine how excited he would be to rob that one. Inspired move. Why not? He was looking good anyways for like P. Well, the track was improving all the time, so he wouldn't have finished in P3. So there was a bit of a gamble to it because he was certainly fine out of the field. That looks like intermediate conditions. That definitely looks like intermediates. And I'm told it's lasting the whole race. The wet. I'm not sure if it gets heavier, but there's definitely intermediate conditions. So we'll have to see a pit stop at some point. The heavy rain and some tracks you can try and get away with a no stop in the wet, but with intermediates I think it's a little bit more difficult. So if I had to guess, we would see some action probably. Well, if the tyres can go just about halfway, then lap 18 and 17 and go to the end. So we'll see. But for now, and there's a lot of choices to make. How knocking down that differential, I'm sure a 50% diff on throttle kind of helps a bit with a bit of traction, front wing angles, etc, etc. Yeah, no one's as you'd expect. Everyone's on intermediate, so So still a good position for King MJ here in second. Don Rajib in seventh. Next guy down in 12th, then a good bit down the field. So it's a bit harder to side through the field in the west than it is in the dry. So definitely still in a good spot is King MJ. But I'm sure he'll be looking for the win. He's got Noel to get by, and well, Noel wasn't very confident heading into this race, but I'm sure that qualifying lap and that track position will certainly help him. So tyre warm-up is really critical here, especially in the wet. It is like driving on ice if your tyres are not up to temperature. I've seen that tenfold when the safety car has been out as well. Will we get a safety car today? Who knows? I can tell you for certainty I don't think we'll finish with 20 drivers for sure. The wet always does kick up a few more DNFs and mistakes and incidents and all these things that usually lead to an exciting race. So 36 laps, it's very possible. They will fly by. It is still quite a short track, even in the wet conditions, in the intermediate conditions. So be a quick blast, but for Noel Petrick, I'm sure it'll be a nervous man sitting on the front row. But it's not the longest run to turn one in the world, but in the wet, it's a little bit more difficult to get away. And well, if you're using no traction, it's so easy to spin up the rears. And no matter how short the run is from pole to turn one, a poor start's a poor start. It's just punished more at tracks like Russia, Spain, etc. But we'll find out as they take their place. Then Lord Elephant already waiting, having I'm sure maybe hit someone or her. Who knows? As long as it's on the formation lap, that's all that matters. But he's in a good spot though. This is the best place he's been for a while. Quick lineup, so nice and tight grid then kept by Noel then. As they wait then for the lights. Here we go then. 36 laps at a wet Red Bull ring are underway. That's a good start for King MJ. He's absolutely going to vault Noel off the line. He's already taken the lead then. Side by side, Pinsky and Uwat into turn. Oh, there's been contact. That's a Mercedes. That's damaged for Don Rajib. So already championship leader. Title lead, not the best start at all as they make their way up towards turn 3 side by side. The two Mercedes still at it. Don Rajib has a Sauber of smudge. Oh, it's gone. There's been contact up there. There's Noel involved. There's Uwat. There's MK Bourne. MK Bourne's going to sneak through here down the inside. Two Mercedes are tangled up as well as the Williams there as well. MK Bourne's going to go down the inside. Go on view from the Force India. Bit of a wiggle, and somehow Noel Petrick is able to keep that position. But the perfect start then for King MJ as they file through the infield for the first time. Oh, that's a bit of a dive from Smudge on Nas. He's gone a bit wide though, and he's got the move done. So that's Smudge up into 8th place then. Is there damage? Let's see if there's damage across the field. There's a wing missing for Suleiman. It looks relatively okay there. So will Don Rajib pit then, or will he just limp on as they round their way through last corner for the first time? Be careful not to get yourself up on that curb. But great start for King MJ. Leads Noel Petrick ahead of MK Bourne. There's a interesting battle going on back here. I think there is where is it? Sorry, I'm all over the place. The McLaren of Sir Lane very close behind. A nice little battle here of Nas, Lord Elephant, Smudge, all very, very close to each other. Who's going to be the latest on the brakes? Who's going to go first? Lord Elephant's going to go first. Will he overcook himself? Sir Lane there on Nas as well. Oh, it's been forced wide a bit. There's been all sorts of contact. They're going to be 3 wide, 4 wide if this rejoin from Lord Elephant isn't ideal. But he's got ILRT Johnny right alongside him as well. And XCI Dan close behind that. We'll probably go on board with him, to be fair. He's got the best view in the house. As they all just file in, then they all go wide. Johnny then taken. Dan, oh, backhand kicking up for Dan. Yeah, he was able to save it though. And they are absolutely jam-packed. But somehow they all survive. I don't think anyone pitted that first lap, so Don Rajib's going to carry on despite the wind damage. He's in 4th place, so he's going to carry on as they wind their way. It's so tight, basically from 7th down. With a move, bets Pinsky, and that is Uwat. That was a bit of a dive into the second to last corner, but the Williams has moved in front. Then he's up to P5, and that's just allowed a couple of the other guys to come back into the fray a bit as Noel Petrick sets the fastest lap of the race. So after that rough start, He's finding a bit of rhythm now, the Red Bull man. He's comfortable 1.5 seconds ahead and behind King MJ and MK Bourne then. Nice little split then between himself and P1 and P3. Onto the grass a bit was you watch, with that unsettle him heading into the braking zone of turn 3. No, not quite. He's got Smudge right behind him as well. He dives over his Johnny. Oh, that's a clatter there as the Toro Rosso of Nas goes wide. And Lord Elephant will be looking to get that move done and get back into the points. Still got his front wing intact. He moves up into 10th. There's Nas, there's Johnny, there's XCI, Dan, all dueling for P11. Where is Dan? So he's still stuck in traffic, 13th place, and he can't get that move done on Johnny then. So, disastrous start for Dan, but his other two contenders, Don Rajib and KMJ, are faring not too poorly, you have to say, after 3 laps. Although I do expect a wing change at some point for Don Rajib. Though he's keeping decent pace with MK Bourne as a yellow flag in sector 2. Could be for absolutely anything. We've got as Force India and Toro Rosso going side by side to the second to last turn. That'd be a tough spot. And Johnny gets that move done. Let's just have a look then what's causing the issues back here. Doesn't look like to be anything. But again, great battles going on here. Johnny just ahead for the moment. There's Nas, there's Dan. And they're holding position for the time being. How's the exit heading up the hill? Not the best one for Nas. That's going to allow Dan to pull alongside and drag himself up the hill. And Speed Iceman is right there, so there's going to be 2 places lost for Nas. Will Iceman go for the move, breaking early, and is caught up behind Dan? That just allows Nas to break that a little bit later, as Johnny and Lord Elephant going side by side in down towards turn 4. It's a move for 9th place. Johnny's on the racing line, the outside line. Lord Elephant takes him down the inside. He's into 9th place then. So good start then. All around, really good start all around. We'll have to look at the positions lost in game, but there's just a lot of action going on still. You've got Smudge catching up to you watch for 6th place. He's really struggled this phase of the race. And then the little duel that we've seen these last few laps is down. This Iceman, Bastos then getting into the fray as well in the Ferrari. So all to play for in Austria, lap 5 of 36. You do expect a lot of separation in wet races, but so far it is nice and tight and compact. As we head down towards turn 1 again, Nas trying to defend from this Renault he's got work to do. He's got a lot of traffic to negotiate, and this is the last place he needs to be, stuck in the midfield out of the points. He's got work to do. Meanwhile, Dom Rajib 6/10 now ahead of Pinsky. Bit of snap, a big snap with oversteer, actually big snap. He's lost the ground there. Has the Williams, and he's just lost out. So Domergy possibly struggling then with that wing damage. Still decently close to MK Bourne, but yeah, that Williams was catching. Meanwhile, Smudge is going to take you Wash, and you Wash really been struggling in this first stint. He could have wing damage that we just don't see on the car, but he has been struggling now. Smudge then has overtaken him as well. Meanwhile, Speed Iceman's actually a little off there. He's gone very wide once again. Gazman is going to take him. Ryan Berry took him corner before. Oh, bit of a squeeze, a bit of understeer. It looked like actually understeer, and that squeeze Speed Iceman wide, and he's lost more positions. Now he's in 17th, and not looking great so far. But man on the move, I think it's definitely Lord Elephant. He's now trying. He's got up to the back of Sir Lane then in 8th. So some good pace being shown here by the Mercedes. He's lost out at the start, but he's now making his way back up through the field. And you look at that, his 6th place is just up ahead. But first is that McLaren, and he's got a good run. To be fair, Johnny's not too far behind this either. So when you go for the move, heading up towards turn 3, he's going to pull out to the right hand side. When you go for the move, he's a bit later on the brake, and he has gone late on the brakes. Oh, he's absolutely cooked it, and he's ran to the side of Uwashi. He's got wing damage now as well, so it was late, and it was not great in the end. He's now got wing damage. He's got the move done on Sir Lane, but he's now giving himself a lot of problems. So both Mercedes now with front wing damage to the left for Lord Elephant, to the right for Don Rajib. It's just not what he needed this phase. There is a squiz of an oversteer there from Johnny's in 10th. The Renault, the other Johnny right behind him with his helicopter shot, and then Nas and Dan then still the cars behind. So a lot of squabbling in this area of the field, but nothing doing for the time being. As a yellow flag in sector 2, and that is Morris, I think, just really enjoying the track. But at the front, King MJ sent the fast lap of the race, only 1.8 seconds ahead of Noel Petrick, but it's down in this part of the track where things are really, really interesting. as Lord Elephant's now on the back still of Uwat, but has got the wind damage now to contend with. Meanwhile, Nas and Johnny down the inside. Goes Nas, he leaves a space on exit with a snap of oversteer, and Dan's going to be watching this with intrigue. He needs to get by these guys. Going 3 wide, heading up the hill. Oh, this is a poor idea. He's going to back out this onto the grass. Goes down. He eventually pulls over and lets this one take shape in front of him as Nas goes down the inside of Johnny, squeezes him wide a bit, and that's going to allow Dan Shurry the chance this time to finally leave this Force India behind. He moves up into 12th place with this Force India still there in the slipstream. We go for a move to try and take back that place. Oh, it was very late. He almost ran into the back of him. Almost cost him a front wing, but Dan's gone wide. And just when you thought he was finally going to be able to clear that Force India, it's not worked out, and Dan's back in 13th. So this is actually disastrous stuff. But despite the wind damage, Lord Elephant still very, very close behind the other Force India of Uwat, and that's not a bit of a twitch there for Uwat. And Lord Elephant thinking about a move down the inside. We've seen this done already. It's just not a conventional overtake as well. That will definitely be a track warning surely for track limits. And he's just falling a little bit behind. We'll be able to have a look into turn 1. Sir Lane not too far behind this either. So now Dan, as if he hasn't got enough problems trying to overtake, he's now got to try and defend. There's a Ferrari behind him, and a Ferrari in close proximity. All straight line speed, all front wing, rear wing to overtake here in the wet, no DRS of course. All about straight line speed and slipstream, fuel mixture and ERS, which I have actually forgotten to enable. Yellow flag is sector 3. I saw Dan Kiko definitely a wheel on the grass there. I think it's Morris trying to recover again, so we'll flick back down, and now Dan kind of lost contact now with Johnny in front of him, and now he's got the Ferrari behind him as Johnny tries to put the move again on P11 behind Nas, who's just lost touch then of the other Renault in front of him, who's catching up into this little group then of Sir Lane, damaged Lord Elephant, and then Uwat then, who's now 2 seconds behind Smudge. So Smudge then pulling away, and it's just a second and a half behind Pinsky, who hasn't really recovered since that little moment coming out of turn 3. He was less than a second behind Don Rajiv. Now he's over 2, or just under 2 rather. That's still nice and tight. Lord Elephant, he's been late on the brakes a few times. It's cost him his front wing. He's closing to the back of that Force India with a go for the late one. The door was left open quite late and then closed again. Gets a decent run, but not decent enough. And Uwat is able to pull out just enough to hang out in front of that Mercedes for the time being. But it is coming, you'd imagine, as Speed Iceman trying to put a move on Ryan Berry, trying to recover some of this ground he lost earlier. Trying to hang around the outside Ryan with the inside line. The Haas trying to find a way through the Red Bull, but can't do it through turn 4. Not this lap at least. Runs a bit wide. You can tell he's a little frustrated. As Dan's off the track. Him and Bastos have had it coming together, have they? That would be my guess. But has to be careful as Dan not to collect anyone else, and that is absolutely disastrous for Dan. The championship, he was one of the championship contenders on 63 points, just 5 points behind King MJ, and Don Rajib now has a lot of work to do. Will he come into the pits, I wonder? Didn't look like there was damage onto that Renault, but he is now completely out of the equation here, and it was absolutely disastrous with King MJ leading the race and Don Rajib then in 4th. They'll be pulling a lot of points then on him if things finish the way they are, but there's a long way to go. Of course, a safety car could come, anything could happen. This is Formula 1, anything could happen. But not looking good then on the surface for Dan, who kind of gave himself a lot of work to do after his poor qualifying, and now has a lot more work to do. So let's look at the position change then. Obviously good start for Smudge up to 6th from 10th. Sir Lane has made good progress as well. Don Rajib has done well despite his wing damage actually, since he's had basically since lap 1. Poor run there for Uwat. That's going to allow Lord Elephant to rip alongside, and that is job done then, is it? And it looks like it. See if he can hold it heading towards turn 1. As we've got, we got a pit stop. Hello, Johnny's into the pits. He's the first man to make a stop then, a scheduled stop then. But it looks like Lord Elephant then is going to keep that one. So he's finally got by then, despite the wing damage, he's got by. And now can set off after Smudge then in 6th, who is 3.3 seconds up the road. Pinsky's got himself back within that 1 second window of Don Regib. I was wondering with the tyres getting a little bit more worn, is that wing damage kind of taking a bit more of a hold on Don Regib now this phase of the race. He's definitely lost ground these last few laps then to Pinsky, but still in front. Key position in the wet. Track position is key. So where did Johnny pop out then? He popped out in 17th then, ahead of his teammate. So that's another off then from Morris. He's still kept his front wing somehow, but has to be careful now. He's lapped traffic and has to be careful not to get into the path of the leaders. Still kind of close. The field has spread out a little bit, but still quite close from basically Lord Elephant downwards. Although you watch, it's kind of losing touch. And Johnny and Nas then, he's onto the grass. As Sir Lane picks up a 3-second penalty as well then, so a couple of incidents then happening throughout the track. And now Nas has lost out then as Gazaman, Monkey, Meg. That's a battle for P15 then. Not where these two want to be, but it's a move done for the McLaren. He moves up into 15th then, 3 seconds, basically 4 seconds behind the Red Bull. Ryan Perry still got 20 runners so far, which is surprising given this phase of the race and the conditions and a lot of tight racing, etc. That's a very, very wide it's Morris a lap down. I was wondering, because I was going to say Lord Elephant or Smudge rather was very, very wide, but he's caught right to the back of Pinsky, and that's a 10-second penalty from Morris. I think that's a little harsh. I'm sure he's just trying to get out of the way. But yeah, Smudge then on the move. He's made up some good time then. And there's Morris out of the race then, so he was lapped down anyways, and now he is out of the race. The first casualty then of this Austrian Grand Prix, but Smudge has made up a good bit of time then on Pinsky, and Don Regib's not too far ahead of this either. So, doing well. I think that's Gaza off, isn't it? He's got no front wing, so I suppose we'll have to let Suleiman go. So now he is now bringing up the pack, and we'll have to pit to replace that way. That's a good run out of the last corner for Smudge. On the back of Pinsky's for P5 for some significant points, but not close enough to make a dive into turn 1. Nice and gentle, so gentle coming out of turn 1. He's got a good run. Has Smudge. That was really nice and finessed. He's going to give himself a chance. Is he heading up towards turn 3? He's going to pull over to the right hand side. Will he be late on the brakes? The door's left open. He's going to go for the move and positions his car perfectly to where Pinsky can't get the switch back. That's great textbook racing from Smudge. Beautifully calmed, controlled, and positions his car beautifully then on exit. So that's Pinsky down to 6th then. Smudge up to 5th. We'll see if Smudge can make a move on Don Regib, get close to the back of that Mercedes. But a great move then for P5 for Smudge. Let's see if he can pull away then from the Williams. Meanwhile, further down the field, Bastos is close to the back of Johnny. This is for P10. But a lot of movement in this area of the grid, kind of the 7th to kind of 12th, 13th range throughout this race. And the back end for Johnny there, just twitching the bit. That's going to allow Bastos to really close up to the back. Not close enough to make a move into these last 2 corners, but certainly get himself close to make a move. Again, a bit of a twitch heading out of the last corner. He's going to get closer and closer, all setting himself up for a move, possibly up to turn 3. Has to think about it, but just too far back. His run out of turn 1 is decent, and sticks up then to Rich and overtake. How close can he close up before turn 3? He's going to come right up, isn't he? Oh, bit of a move over. A bit of a move from Johnny. He's going to be late on the brakes. It's Bastos, so he get the move done. It's going to be side by side still. He's going to have the best line is Johnny, the outside line, getting the power. Let's see, the straight line speed is favouring then. Inside line is still for Bastos. And he's just reeling, isn't he? He's just always a bit earlier on the brakes though. Tries to kind of adjust for it, and Johnny then running into the back. I don't know if that was wing damage. I didn't see any pieces fly off that car. But yeah, he just kind of, he sensed he braked too early, dammed off the brakes at Bastos, and then tried to make the corner. It worked out for him, but not the conventional way you want to get the move done. But he has got the move done. He's up into P10 then. He could try himself after these Sirlane and Uwat, and I think, oh, I thought that was a dummy into the pits for Uwat, because we're getting close now to the round of pit stops. If you're going to do a one stop, it's basically half distance you're pitting, so lap 15, we're getting closer and closer. So who's going to try the undercut then? Whose tyre wear is better than the others? Because whoever can manage the tyres better, and knows they can manage better, can go for undercut. That's a wide turn one for Sirlane. He's cooked it, and now instead of attacking Uwat, he's into the jaws of Bastos, who's just made a move for P10, is now going to whiz by that McLaren for P9. That should be an easy enough move then for Bastos. Can he keep it? Good exit though for Sirlane. He'll be in with a chance still to keep this position, but I'm sure, you see, we've seen Bastos run good straight line speed so far. He's just going to be edging this one. Again, has to get on the brakes a bit better this time. Oh, Sirlane a bit wide, loses the position, but not quite wide enough for Johnny to try and take advantage. And that is Bastos, and into P9 then. And there's a PA for grabs here as well for you. Watch sector 3 yellow flag as the King AJ sets the fastest lap of the race. I think that's Gazaman. He's got to come into the pits again for another new nose cone. So just gone from Bathurst. That's very, very wide from King MJ. That'll definitely be a warning of some sort, surely. But the track lengths definitely seem to improve, as the tyre wear, I'm sure, is quite high by this stage, but track drying up a little bit if is evidence, and Gazman is out then retiring in the pits, so we've lost our second car then. But track conditions look pretty good. I'm sure the undercut now would be a great idea for someone. If the track is improving this much, despite how how highly these tyres are worn, then I'm sure an undercut would be certainly in the minds of some soon. Sirlane is trying to have to go defensive on Johnny, trying to hold this last points paying position. Outside line for Johnny's just going to take that, isn't he? Great move from Johnny, outside line. Proven a very good one, especially in turn 3, where it's about getting on the power as soon as you can. It's a big traction zone. It's one of the actual reasons people call this a pad track, because a couple of traction zones like that one right there really do. You see the difference, and the outside line is the best place for it. So that is Johnny Lane to P10 ahead of Sirlane. A couple of gaps begin to emerge here and there. Bastos is closed within a second of Uwat. Smudge is caught up to the back of Domrajib, and Domrajib comes into the pits then. So the first of the main runners then to make a pit stop will go on board with the Mercedes. He's coming in way too hot. He did slow down in time though somehow, and I think there's a nose cone waiting for that Mercedes. They're replacing that front wing as Nas is coming, Sirlane into the pits then as well. A couple other warnings flying up over the screen as well. So Sirlane pits then. Domrajib will come out. Looks like it'll be, whoa, it'll be interesting where he comes out actually. So he could come out ahead of Monkey Meg. It'd be big if he can. He does. Next CI Dan just behind that then, so that's going to crush Dan. He's going to get by the Williams here, it looks like, but he's seen as one of his title contenders come out ahead, and he's yet to make a stop, so that's going to be a tough one. So how do the rest respond then? How do the rest respond to this? King MG can kind of come in whenever he wants. He's 6.3 seconds ahead of Noel Petrick, who's also in a good place, 6 seconds ahead of MK Bourne, who's also in a good place, being 7 seconds ahead of Smudge. So it's really it's kind of Smudge, Pinsky, Lord Elton. These are the guys that have to think about it. And Pinsky then is going to come in. So he's responding then. Lord Elephant is not going to come in. He's going to stay out. Smudge did come in then as well. A bit of a late entry then for Smudge. As he slows down in time, as does the Williams of Pinsky then. Uwat is coming into the pit, so that's not going to slow down in time, is it? It's just about. It's such a risk. You can see who's kind of more conservative, who's willing to risk a bit more time to get the quickest entry as possible. So where is Domrajib then? He's coming across the line. Of course, has had to change a wing, bear in mind as well, so he's behind them. It'll be for that, and he is behind Pinsky, he's behind Smudge. Not behind Uwat though, because he is just popped down 13 ahead of Sirlane then, so those two are quite close. Hasn't worked out the undercut for Sirlane. Let's see then where do the rest kind of fall. The top three are kind of safe, aren't they? As King MJ then does come in. This is basically time anyways to come in, because you are half distance now, basically you're just asking to go half. And Noel is in as well, and MK Bourne. If anyone hasn't pitted by this stage, and Noel has sped into the pit lane though, and he's got a stop go for it. Now he has the gap for now, but not ideal. MK Bourne is in another elephant. He's on the pit as well, so it'll be interesting to see where he emerges then with his wing damage to repair as well. Just slows down. Mercedes crew come out, and there's a front wing waiting. So King MJ is going to emerge in the lead then. No, Patrick will be close behind. Where are the rest? Where's Smudge? Where's Smudge going to end up then? He's the first then here in this group as everyone else comes into the pits. See how much his undercut has worked. And Smudge is going to emerge in P4 then. So obviously with Dom Rashid having to pit, he is just obviously ahead of Pinsky. Dom Rashid then ahead of there's Johnny yet to make a second stop, because we saw Johnny come into the pits a little bit earlier. So Lord Elephant then is behind Sir Lane and ahead of Johnny. So that's where he figures into it then. So he's got some work to do. Whereas XCI Dan, unfortunately, P17 with a pit stop. So it's going to be a rough one for that Renault man. It's going to see a lot of points disappear. But for King MJ, Dom Rashid's got some work to do though. He's got Johnny first on his list. So the second phase of the race is going to be big for Dom Rashid in terms of damage limitation, because I think it's fairly safe to say nothing's going to touch King MJ today. He is, how far is he behind? 25 seconds behind King MJ, so nothing that is going to change there unless a safety car comes out. But he's got some damage limitation to do if he wants to kind of keep within touching distance of this title. Of course, never really too far away with 25 points going for a race win, but you know, it's not a ton of races, only 11 races this season, in the shortened season of ILR6, Season 5. So you don't want to lose touch if possible. Fighting the back end all the time, but Johnny, good run out of turn 1. Dom Rashid, a little bit of a slide. That's just disrupted his progress so far. Has a little battle behind as well. Merging between the Ferrari and Force India again. You go for a late move, thought about it, but tucks back in and lap 20 of 36 cents, pretty much a done deal for the podium basically. No, Patrick still has the time over MK Bourne for second place despite that penalty, and Johnny running a bit wide. This is the last thing Don Rajiv needs, a car. He's not really fighting for a position in terms of in his race, like Pinsky, Smudge, these guys are in Don Rajiv's race, much lesser than Johnny, who's going to have to pit again. 9 lap old Inters, I can't imagine will go to the end, but it's just not what Don Rajiv needs right now, and he is just struggling to close up. He's trying to set himself up for a move on that Renault. His teammate though, again, stuck a little bit in traffic, but has shown he can overtake here in the wet. He's done it a good few times, and a good run out of the last corner on the back of that McLaren, as well as Bastos trying to make a move into turn 1 on you what. The door's left open. The Ferrari tries to come through. Oh, there's a little bit of contact. Luckily, no car went round. Could have easily been a big accident there. And now Lord Elephant with a great run out of turn 1. He's going to get a good run through turn 2 up the hill, and then should be in a good spot for braking for turn 3. Let's see then. So Lane on the outside. Can he go for a switch? Oh, tries to turn in early. Goes a bit wide, and Johnny's going to be in prime position then to get a move done as well. So he's not only has Sir Lane lost the last points paying position, but he's also lost 11th place now by the looks of it as well. Go try and stick with it, but he's got the outside line. Can he traction himself through? No, he can't. So Johnny then takes that position. That's a tough one then for Sir Lane, losing 2 positions then in the space of 1 go, and he's already got a penalty or 2 to contend with. So it's going to be tough for a points paying position for Sir Lane at this race, but has to keep playing on. It's a very poor run for Uwat. That's going to let Bastos right along through. We've seen that be an overtaking spot for a good few cars tonight, that kind of poor run through that section of the track and then just allowing the other cars to dance through. That's a tough one there for Don Rajib. Johnny in front of him had a bit of a moment as well, so still stuck in 7th place. He at this race almost makes contact with the back of that Renault. At this rate he'd been losing well, 6 points. He's losing 19 points at this stage of the race. Is Don Rajib to King MJ. Just struggling to get by that Renault. Has a run out of turn 3 this time. Not too bad. Again, Johnny's just doing enough to keep himself in front to where he can't really invite a dive bomb because I'm sure the more and more Don Rajiv is stuck behind this Renault, the more frustrated he'll be that points are disappearing. And he's got a much better run out of turn 4 though. Would he have to hang around the outside for turn 5 and 6? Try to cut back inside, have to try and use his superior grip on the fresh inters, but nothing doing. How about coming out of turns 7 and 8? No mistakes for Johnny as there was for Uwash, and his Don Rajiv still stuck. And the nice little battle is emerging here. Oh, it's a big impact for Nas, and he's lost it coming out of that section then that has given so many other people problems. He's right in the middle of the track. I don't know how that's not a safety car, I really don't. That was a big accident. Lord Elephant looking to get a move done on you, Watts. Nothing doing. Anything doing for Don Rajiv? No, he's too far back still. As Lord Elephant tries to reel. Oh, he's got actually Johnny for you. He's got the other Force India for company as well. So the meat in a Force India sandwich go down the inside. You what makes contact. It's a bit sloppy from Lord Elephant. It's going to give Johnny the great chance to run on his teammate and move up into the final points paying position for P10. Serlane watching this one close by as well. And he tucks in, and Lord Elephant ends up into 9th, but a little sloppily in his cost. You wash 2 positions as well, Lord Elephant trying to continue his charge. He's in P9 now. He's got some work to do. 2.4 seconds behind Bastos then, and Don Rajiv again still trying to get by this Renault. It's proven so difficult, and what it's doing, it's kind of allowing others to kind of get into the fray. As Johnny right in the back of Lord Elephant. So that was a surprise to me before that overtake on Uwash, was how quickly Lord Elephant was being caught by Johnny. Got some good pace at this phase of the race, it seems. See if he can make a move. It's one thing to catch, another to overtake, as Don Rajiv is proving with this little battle with ILRT Johnny. Apart from that though, nice little click emerging though right behind this. They've got the Force Indians, got Ryan Berry and Speed Iceman. Of course, I think Speed Iceman actually just passed Ryan. And that's for P13. A long way back then of Serlane and, well, XCI Dan be catching up to this pair fairly soon as well. But of course, he's just running laps at this stage. A lot closer now. Don Rajiv, but again, can't force a way through. As Nasty's a session. I wonder if he had left early. I wonder if that would have brought a safety car. That's the one thing I have noticed. As Johnny finally goes wide, it's going to be the opportunity Don Rajiv needs. Can he take advantage? No, it wasn't enough of a mistake. And now he's just so difficult to overtake if you're not running a lot of straight line speed. But he's getting increasingly frustrated, I'm sure, behind that Mercedes, and he's inviting now more company, as now Bastos is within a second now, and I'm sure Lord Elephant to be bringing along a party as well. Just absolutely the last thing Don Rajiv needs is company. Well, the last thing he needs is wing damage. The second worst thing is company, as the Force India switch again. Now it looks like a tactical switch this time, so you watch going to be given the chance to try and have a go at Lord Elephant. How's the exit for Don Rajiv? Is closer than he has been in the past, as oh, that's why Johnny is disconnected by the looks of it. Or maybe he's got wing damage. No, he hasn't, so just to disconnect it by the looks of it. But Don Rajiv still can't get by this Renault. Increase in frustration because now 14 laps on these tyres. He's gone a bit wide. He might just have to send it at some point as King Engine goes fastest. Surprised he didn't send it through there, to be fair. He's showing good restraint, is Don Rajiv, but it can only last so long, surely. As is the case with the tyres. Oh, look at that, he's trying to find a way. Oh, there is contact though. I thought he was trying to hold her straight, but there it goes. Wow, that's going to be winged. Yeah, now he's off the track as well, and he's got Bastos right alongside him as well. He's going to be losing more positions now. Well, he just got back P6, or he's not going to lose it. As surely down the inside, no, he can't get the move done. I thought Bastos would have had him, but that looked like significant wing damage, surely. Flag at sector 3 as Johnny's into the pits then. Wouldn't have been expecting that big collision, I'm sure. As Don Rajiv cooks it into turn 3, and that would surely allow the Ferrari to pull along. There it goes then. So That's a big one for the constructors as well, as Bastos moves up to P6 then, and now Lord Elephant will surely be aware of his teammates' troubles. And that was the last thing Dom Rajiv needed. He just didn't need to do it. He looked... I was saying he needs to show restraint, or kind of he's doing well to show the restraint he did, but he just looked like a frustrated man on that move. And the worst thing for him was that he would have seen Johnny pit that lap then as well. So could have been a lag spike or something, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was frustration, because he was just kind of there, wasn't he? He's going to come into the pits. He is. So he's going to drop him out of the points entirely then. So absolute dream day for King MJ. Absolutely dream stuff. As Dom Rajiv comes into the pits then to replace the front wing once again. Where will he pop out? Behind XCI Dan of all people as well. He's going to pop out in P16? Might even pop out last. Yes, no, he won't pop out last. But he certainly will be in P16 as Monkey Meg goes by. So, disastrous stuff. Tail kicks out on exit, but to be fair, he's got, what, 7 seconds to make up. If he gets to this group up here, as MK Bourne picks up a penalty, there's a big group between Johnny, Speed Iceman, Ryan, XCI Dan, Johnny. They're all right there as Ryan tries to hold P12. There could be a point on here for Dan. He's got a bit of traffic to negotiate, but still, it's not too far out of the realms for Renault. But he's got to get by that Red Bull first. So, just disastrous stuff. This is the best day for King MJ. He's just proven to be the class of the field here, and well, has risen head above shoulders above his title contenders. There's still time, of course. It is lap 28 of 36, but just looking like an excellent day at the office. For Dan, there's still a chance to get some points, and a 3-second penalty will not help Don Rajib's mood, I'm sure. He's also under-fueled on that car as well. He's got some fuel saving to do before the end of the race. You can see the that has been ticking yellow. There it is. So he's kind of teetering on the edge. Oh, there's a late dive there. I thought Johnny was... Yeah, he did try and go for it. He's on the freshest tyres of the bunch. He just seemed to overcook himself heading into turn 3. He was lucky not to make... well, he did make contact with his teammate, but lucky not to send him round. And still squabbling away for non-points paying positions. Meanwhile, Lord Elephant a second and a bit, just kind of on the edge of Bastos for P6. It's actually been a good drive from... To be fair, if there's anyone who's kind of shown to be overtaken, who said, yeah, you can overtake here in the wet, it has been Lord Elephant. A bit of a sloppy one on Uwat, I think it was, earlier on, but he has kind of been able to get the job done. Overtaken, even if it hasn't been kind of orthodox, he has been able to make his way through the field. And it's just sniffing P6, but again, catching's one thing, overtaking is another, as is here with Sir Lane. He's much closer to the back of Uwat, mate. He has been for a while. He's got a lot less ERS though, so you know, less to fight with, more to defend with for the Force India. But again, we'll see what he can do. Too far back in this occasion, but just a few laps remaining in this Austrian Grand Prix. It's been topsy-turvy for sure, and look at this. XCI Dan looking to shape a move up on Ryan Berry for P12 down the inside. Can he keep it this time? It's been a tough one for Dan to try and overtake and hold the position, but I think he has managed to hold it this time. Where would XCI Dan be without that little spin through Sector 3? I don't know if it was contact with Bastos, but he was definitely close to that Ferrari when that happened. It would be him kind of doing the damage limitation, but now, you know, he's still within a shot to fight for some points. And Sir Lane pits. That's a strange one. Could he not get his tyres to the end? Doesn't look like wing damage. No wing damage. He's coming in. Just maybe couldn't get the tyres to the end. That's a strange one to pit out of the points. Well, he's going to be in P14 then, at the very least. He's going to be close to Monkey Meg. Can he stay ahead of him? No. Both him and Dom Rajib are going to get by the looks of it. Oh, he's just in between. But the overrun for Dom Rajib. Will that be enough? The overrun on speed as Johnny gets by Ryan. As Lord Elephant disconnects, so he's lost that position. He's going to lose a lot more now in a second, Lord Elephant, but Sirlane then moving in between those two. That's a weird one, unless he had wing. He didn't look like he had wing damage. He's got about 4 seconds or so before Uwash kind of gets onto the back, and that certainly helped relieve the pressure on Bastos, who's getting closer to Bekapinski. 1.7 seconds, pumping in the 14s. So he's got a little bit of time before he loses that P7, but not a ton of time. Meanwhile, Speed Iceman under pressure from Dan. This is for a point now. So, big move here. Any sort of limitation would be handy. He's already 5 points behind. He's losing a lot more points to King MJ. Gets on the grass a bit. There's a slow running car in front. It is Johnny. Johnny had an off somewhere. And Lord Elephant hasn't been able to get back into the car by the looks of it. So, or he's back. He's just got back now. And just in time to try and defend this P7. Ooh, a squeeze onto the curb. He's gone a bit deep, has he? Can he get the switch back on you what? He's going to have the inside, but that'll be the inside for Lord Elephant then. As Don Rajib is out of this race. Bit of contact by Uwash on Lord Elephant. Didn't forget the incident earlier, and there you go then. That forced India is into P7 then. So Don Rajib is out then. Oh, there's more. Oh, there's a sloppy racing going on. Monkey Meg and Sirlane. It's not going to be appreciated by Sirlane, I'm sure, but look at this, and Johnny on the back of Dan. He's going to run wide. He must have a penalty now at this stage, surely. But look at that, P9 is also right there after that mistake from Johnny. He's run wide again, and that is a penalty this time. So, interesting to see where this grid will fall then when the checkered flag drops. Still got 16 drivers, so that's still impressive, you have to say. Oh, big dive there. Has he actually let him go? I think he's actually just let him go, has he? Look, he came from absolutely miles back, and Dan's going to try and fight this one. Every point counts. As Lord Elephant, oh, is a side by side. Mate still holding on to P7, but that looked, I'm sure there was contact there, and no quarter given between these two, as it has been for back and forth this race, to be fair. But Uwat keeping that P7 for the time being. Meanwhile, the two Renaults were squabbling, but Dan not close enough, and 6-lap-old Inters. It looks like it's the way, and Johnny then can still get a point somehow, despite doing the unorthodox two-stop. As Monkey Meg, is still going to fight. He's left the space. Sirlane probably wary of what happened before. A little bit of contact and exit, but that's Sirlane into 14th then. As we got Uwash and Lord Elephant squabbling away. Track limits. Oh, this is going all the way. This is going to end in tears for someone. Surely someone's going to knock back down at some point, and it's going to end in tears as there was almost desync there. Uwat really trying to cut off the inside line from Lord Elephant, but now heading up the hill. He's got a lot of ERS left. Both have similar ERS, but a bit more for Lord Elephant when he go down the inside this time. He's going to go first late on the brakes. Will he make the corner? He has switched back for Uwash. I just have to get off the throttle a bit. Oh, there's more contact. This is getting, he's getting dangerously close to very aggressive driving from both of them. Will he go for the dive? He's made contact, and again you can hear it. I think Lord Elephant has survived, but a bit of definitely no quarter given between those two. Not backing down and going all the way. Johnny then gets by Johnny, then some Johnny on Johnny action for P9 as Bastos is right into the back of Pinsky as well. So there's a couple of things beginning to take shape, and Pinsky's on another penalty now as well. So his P5 is, well, it's definitely in jeopardy because he's got at least 2 pens. And Bastos now right behind him on track as well. After 34 of 36, just 3 laps to go. Still lots to be decided. Lots to be decided with penalties coming into the equation. Good run then for Dan on Speed Iceman heading out the last corner. He's got a lot of ERS. It's time to start using it. We go for the move into turn 1. Iceman moves over to try and cover it off. Will that impact his turn 1 exit. Dan still right there, kick of oversteer. As Bastos actually is right on the back of Pinsky, who drifts a bit wide. But will have the outside line still to outdrag himself. As Dan down the inside of Speed Iceman. Can he get this move done? Iceman's going to have to bear exit. So it's all down a straight line speed once again, and nothing he can do. Has to file back in. And will he try at the end of this? No, just breaks early, accepts it. Oh, actually Johnny's gone very, very wide. Has to be careful rejoining the track because these two are now side by side as well. So that's them into P 10 and 11. So this is now a fight for the points. So after Dan had been overtaken by his teammate and Tide lost it, good run then. Down the inside. This is tense stuff. All through the field there's something going on. Bit of contact as Ryan Berry is out of the race. It's too late for a safety car now at this stage. But Speed Iceman still holding on to the last point. And Johnny right there as well as he cuts the corner. Back end really kicking out. Lap 35 of 36. This is for the last point. This is for damage limitation before penalties. And surely heading up the hill. Oh, kick up oversteer again. It's happened so often the exit of turn 1 for Dan, and he's just lost a bit of ground. Will he still go for the move though? Into turn 3, no, not quite, but this is the last lap of the race. This is how far King MJ is ahead. He's 12 seconds ahead of Noel Petrick, who I think is now going to lose that second place because he has got an unserved drive-through and now 2 track limit penalties. But last lap for King MJ has been absolutely brilliant for him, as Dan has had an off somewhere. He's now a second a bit behind Speed Iceman. Bastos still behind Pinsky, but should be able to get him on penalties. It was an absolutely the dream race for King MJ. He got the job done in qualifying, got the job done off the start, and has been in a league of his own ever since. He has proven to be the master of the wet conditions, and he's going to take a convincing lead again in the title, with Don Rajiv not finishing this race and XCI Dan been all over the place. It's going to be 25 points and a handsome championship lead once again. 3 contenders entered this race. Well, 1 has left. Last corner for King MJ with his helicopter shot. Beautiful stuff. A convincing win, a brilliant win for King MJ. He wins the Austrian Grand Prix by an absolute landslide. It's going to be even more by the time Noel Petrick crosses line and sets his fastest lap on the last lap for good measure. Then a great drive from Noel Petrick despite that, but it's going to be P2 on track, but I think he's going to be finished a little bit further down, then 25 seconds behind King MJ, and then MK Borland is going to come across and take second place then. There it is, second place for him, great result for the Toro Rosso. Smudge then, a great drive from Smudge to be fair. He's going to come across in 4th place. Pinsky then will hold on to 5th on track, but should be jumped then by Bastos for 5th. There it is. Lord Elephant then involved in a lot of squabbling with you Wash. He's going to cross the line here for 7th place. The aforementioned Force India then will finish in 8th. His teammates will finish just behind him in 9th. Jumping, they both jump the Mercedes? No. So you then jumps up to 7th. Lord Elephant falls down to 8th. Johnny 9th. Speed Iceman will cross the line in 10th. XCI Dan will not jump ahead. Neither will Johnny. Sir Lane, I think actually, is he crashed before the finish line? I think he's just after, isn't he? But there you go. Dash will do it for the Austrian Grand Prix. I struggle at times. I apologise if this wasn't the best comm in the world, but it's a race that has seen King MJ take a absolutely smashing lead at the top. So there you go, that's a 25-point lead then for King MJ ahead of Don Rajib. The perfect day. And now with just 2, 3. So yeah, we're halfway done basically, almost. There's 6 races left, just under halfway. But 25 points to overhaul in 6 races. You're gonna have to hope for a mistake for King MJ somewhere. He wins, also without a penalty, so congratulations to him. MK Bourne, great drive for him in 2nd. No Petrick then, I'm sure he'll be content enough with 3rd, all things considered. Smudge finishing in 4th, Bastos 5th, Pinsky 6th, Uwap made 7th, Lord Elephant 8th, Johnny 9th, Speed Iceman then rounds out the points in 10th. XCI Dan is now 30 points behind and has a lot of thinking to do, I'm sure, heading into the next round. He's in 11th, Johnny 12th, Monkey Meg 13th, Sirlane 14th, Suleiman 15th, and then as the last runner, then we lost to Ryan Berry, Don Rajib, we lost to Morris, we lost Nas as well to a big accident then as well in a Toro. So somehow didn't bring out the safety car, but there you go. That's round number 5 of ILR6. King MJ then taking command and lead of the championship, then breaking away from Don Rajib and XCI Dan. Next up for these guys is Silverstone, but next up for Inside Line Racing, you can catch ILRs 4 and 5 at 8 o'clock. Same track. I'm sure they'll be hoping for similar conditions, I'm sure, as well, because this is a track that is quite handy for the pad, and the wet conditions certainly help for that as well. But anyways, until next time.